evening, everyone. My name is Justin Scott from 876 Invest, and we have a special episode for you today again. I'm joined by my colleague,
Vidal.
right? And we're about to be interviewing the CEO and founder of Bluedot, right? So if you guys have been on Twitter or if you've been driving along the toll road, you might see the billboard there. If you're into the media, if you're into marketing, if you're interested in data and analytics, you're definitely going to go on to watching this one. You've probably heard of him beforehand, but I think the best introduction can only come from the man himself. So, Mr. Larren Peart, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Justin. Hi, Henel. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm Larren. I'm the CEO of Bluedot Insights. We are an insights agency, and put simply, we help our clients to make better decisions with data and insights. So, in short, that's what we do. Anything from market research to data analytics and building models, predictive models, some AI, some machine learning, just overall very cool shit.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and it's precisely reasons like that why we wanted you here on the program because we're very interested in the markets. We're very interested in trying to get on something good before everybody knows about it, before it's commonplace and before all the action has happened. It's always important to have the best information from early. It's always important to us to be able to catch the trends from before they happen, right? And so I think that's something that our viewers are going to be very interested in learning more about. But let's start from the beginning. Could you give us an idea of how you got the idea for Blue Dot? How you got started and what it was like in the early days?
All right. So Blue Dot started in October 2014. Um, I mean, it's a long story, but it 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 started pretty much after I was in a supermarket one day, and there was somebody who was doing a taste test, a company. And after I tasted the product, it was sausages. I realized that they didn't collect any information from me. And I was like, what's the point of doing a taste test if you're not getting feedback? Inquired about it, and long and short, I found out that data collection was expensive. So with my background in IT, I figured pretty much, like there's got to be a better way, right? So um, yeah, I started Blue Dot, from that, and applied a lot of technology to the process, which isn't common. Like at the time, even now, my competitors are still using pen and paper to collect data. You know, um, but to step back again, when I realized the value of data, I was working for Doug Halsall at AIS, and AIS processes all of the health insurance claims in Jamaica. So every time you swipe your surgical health card,
Yeah.
they actually are the processor behind it. And I was in IT, and I realized the value of data working there, because there are several times when I'd be looking like in the server room and looking at transactions coming in. And I would say, for example, a lot of flu medication being dispensed in Ocho Rios, right? And based on those historical data, I would know that it would take 2 weeks for the flu to get to Montego Bay, where I'm from and where my dad is from. So in 2 weeks, I would know that I would also start to see flu medication being dispensed in Montego Bay from the pharmacies, because you have all of this information coming in, right? So I'd literally call my dad and say, "Pops, start stock up on vitamin C, because flu soon reach you down there in Mobile." I mean, he would never listen to me, but the point is, with data you can predict, and like that's when I was like, wow, this data thing really, really interesting, and that's coupled with that previous story is why I started Blue Dot.
Okay. Nice, nice, nice. For sure, man. So to me, it's really interesting because getting an idea on how consumer trends happen and the chain and where it's processing, it definitely does. It's almost like you're looking at a weather map. The hurricane don't reach it, but you can see the
Mhm.
projections and where it's going from there.
Right.
Okay? And that's the importance of that.
Yeah.
Um,
We I think I have the coolest job, right? Because at any given point in time, I know what the pulse in Jamaica is because we collect so much data for our clients every day. So, like last week we were collecting data for a funeral home. So I know what people's preferences are when they're looking to bury a loved one, right? And then, we have some fast food restaurants as our clients. So I know what fast food consumption is and what the pattern is in fast food consumption and, alcohol and tobacco. We also have clients and banking and finance. So we have clients in across all sectors, right? And so at any given point in time, I know what the pulse is, and when you collect enough of that data, you can start to predict,
Yeah.
and to build models to predict, and from a finance standpoint, I think I briefly like posted about it on Twitter the other day, but
Yes.
if I had the time, like we could do some quant stuff that we see in billions that Taylor does in billions, right? If you watch billions,
Oh, definitely.
yeah, um, yeah, because we know we have consumer data, you know. So yeah, I just think it's just pretty cool, every day to see what people are thinking, what they're doing, what their plans are, um, and to be to have my finger on that every day. It's pretty
All
cool.
right. Can I get an idea? All right. I have a question about how the intellectual property rights goes when you actually do collect the data from it, right? So say you get contracted by company A and they're in food processing or whatever, right?
Right.
Could you then now take the info? So like you've done the project, you've distributed the data, given the analysis. Do you then get to keep the data now and then apply it or refine it for another company afterwards?
No, it's their data. It's the client's data.
Okay.
And I mean, we have some arrangements with some clients where we reduce the cost if we get to also own the data.
So
So
is it more of like an agency setup where it's tailored specific to that client?
yeah, so how the process works is a client will come to us and say, we want to understand who our customers are, or we want to know if our customers are going to like this particular product. And then we go out there and profile their customers and get the
Right.
information from them. Sometimes it might be taste testing. We do a taste test, what we call sensory evaluation, which is measuring everything from sweetness to salt content, thickness, whatever it is, and then returning a report to that client.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
Okay.
Nice. So, okay, but what about, because I mean you've already done the work, right? So you definitely have the idea for yourself, but then so yes, the client would own that particular set of data and thing, but you then now have a better understanding having then done it, so you can refine
Yeah,
the.
man. And we've started to collect our own data. So like
Okay.
if something interests us, like we did a study for on the banking and finance sector recently, and we definitely saw some curious trends coming up, and we'll probably go out and do that study ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And then sell it to financial institutions like a Mayberry or Barita or MCB or whatever.
So okay, so you mentioned that you just said that you'd sell it to another financial institution, but say it's not finance, it's another other industry. If you collect
Right.
information and you're recognizing a certain trend, would you have like any ideas of going into that business, whether it is through like a subsidiary or is it just purely you want to stick on the data side of things?
Yeah,
So
because if
that's
him said I make enough money, then
Yeah,
So,
because
so, so
yeah,
that's a very good question. I actually pitched that to an investor one time. I was saying, look, there's nobody else that can tell you what's coming other than like how we can tell you what's coming, and most importantly, what pain points consumers have, and every problem or every pain point or a problem is a solution for a business to solve, right? So, literally, if I had a bag of money. There's so many businesses that I would go in that we could go in because we know what the pain points of consumers are, we can
yeah.
improve the services that are being offered and the products that are being offered because we know what the pain points are. So, you know, it like
Yeah, exactly. So
we could do it.
yeah, exactly. And as you mentioned before, when you're talking about billions, and for those who don't know, billions is a show that focuses on how they use the conception of billions focuses on how they use data to predict market movements and make money off of it, right? That's the same thing because a lot of these larger companies, whether it be Walmart, um, and any of those large international companies, that's what they do. You know, supermarkets are famous for it. For example, putting certain products beside each other in the supermarket.
Hmm.
You know, especially like they put sweets right where you cash out at the cashier because they know you're
Yeah.
more likely to pick that up at the end of the journey than at the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, man.
You
And
know, so there's
there's plenty of famous case studies with that. So, like a popular case study is Tesco in the United Kingdom, which is probably the largest supermarket chain
yeah,
in England slash the UK. They analyze some data and they realize that whenever men buy diapers,
Mm.
beer is also bought along with it. So they started to put beer beside diapers,
said that
and
was it.
the sales increased by I think 30%. But the simple reason for that is that when when your girlfriend send you out to buy some diapers, men feel emasculated and they feel like they
Yeah.
need to buy a 6 pack of beer to make themselves feel good. So like analyzing that data, you do a
Yeah.
pairing, so you pair those two together, and that's how and you increase sales. Nobody out here does that. Like I buy honey bunches of oats from my supermarket every Friday, but they've never ever tried to upsell milk.
Hmm.
You know, and it's there's just it irks me, but like it's also the opportunity that we have at Blue Dot, and whoever else wants
It's
to come
open
and
lane,
the company.
wide open lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, as a segue from that conversation, like what in Jamaica, because we're not as developed in terms of using technology and data science in our everyday lives, what do you think we could do more from any level you want to take it from to improve data science in Jamaica?
So our new mission statement at Blue Dot is pretty simple. It is to change the way the Caribbean uses and thinks about data. That's our new mission statement. And that's kind of like, that's our North Star right now. Because in the Caribbean and in Latin America too, we're very gut based in terms of how we make decisions.
Yeah,
It's
Hmm.
we make a lot of gut based decisions, or you might go in a WhatsApp group with all of your friends, which means that it's bare yes man in there, and ask them, should I change the color of this to
To
red?
that.
yeah,
Yeah, which is skewed data because you're not getting a wide cross section of so, so our mission at Blue Dot is to change that. I absolutely hate when I go into a presentation, um, and I see that a marketing manager or CEO is presenting and says the value of the balloon market in the United States is 50 billion, right? Because there's never any local carbon data for them to use as reference.
yeah.
So our mission is to completely change that, where there's local data, not Jamaican data, but carbon wide data for decision making.
Why you feel that is though? Is it a case that we're just not a big digital society? Is it a case where the companies prefer just doing with the old way that they've been doing it from 19 all along?
Yeah, it's really just culture. Like we're just not cultured that way to be
Mm.
to make decisions based on data. Like we grew up hearing our parents and our grandmothers say, "My spirit not take that man there, my spirit not take her." Right? It's the same thing. Like that's just our culture. What I can say though is that in the last, I'd say 3 years, there is a definite shift, especially with our clients. What's helped is that people would have gone overseas and worked and used data and done research, and now they're in these local companies and they're pushing for more data driven decision making.
Okay. Yeah. I specifically brought that up because I know there's a lot of pushback against things like digital currency and even just regular more fintech payment systems, right?
Uh,
I
Yeah.
can't tell you when last I go to a gas station and the card machine working properly, or the cook shop around the place, right? They have the card machine, it's not working there. And well, I don't want to bash things early, man, but it's well, not even bashing them. It's just a case of where I haven't seen a lot of take up. Like it's here, the system is here, to build it, but it's not a where we are right now, and it's like because the culture setting, it's not a build it and they will come kind of situation. It is you have to actually bring people towards doing something like this, right? And
Yeah.
an example I always drawn is when we were trying to take JUTC cashless. So we built the system, we put it all the places where the bus terminals are, right? Because likely that sounds like something simple, right? You put the things where they can apply the credit onto it. They're already there to take the buses anyway, and all you need to do is do that. You don't need to walk around with the cash. You can use it like credit, like gift cards for other people. So you put it out there, but it just didn't take on. I can get up
Well,
and take this right now,
I,
and
I coincidentally have some insight into that, right? And it's also an example of why you should do research before you launch a product, right? So the problem with JTC Smart Card is that it wasn't, I think the word is fungible, meaning, if that's, is that, I'm not sure if that's the right word, I think it's fungible, meaning because of the demographic of people who take JUTC buses, which is generally lower income people who don't have a lot of disposable income, because the smart card could only be used on the JTC bus. If they put $1,000 on the card, they can't take off $200 or $300 to go on to something else. So that is the major reason why the smart card system failed, because they couldn't go to an ATM or they couldn't use the same card to buy a bun and cheese or a patty or whatever. If they had done research and spoken to their target demographic, they would have found that out, which is
Yeah.
where we come in.
Yeah, and it's funny because in that same example, it being non-fungible is similar to, how an NFT is. That's a whole different argument. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it wasn't interchangeable. And I think
yeah,
also too, they tried it wasn't done in like a gradual transition. It was kind of forced upon you.
popped up one day.
Yeah, because I remember when back in the days you had people making these long lines because they just wouldn't take cash on the bus at all.
yeah,
You know? Instead of
So
kind of making the market decide for itself if it wants to go cashless or not.
mm.
But
yeah,
I
that's a
understand
business
the
thing.
reason for the initiative, separate and apart from just ensuring cash works how it works, and it would put additional cash into JUTC, right? But the situation just wasn't the case. I don't know how they would. I don't know what sort of situation or solution they could take to circumvent something like that. But
yeah. It has to be interoperable. So it has to be something where, somebody who don't have a lot of disposable income, if they put $2,000 on that card, they can use that card elsewhere,
all right,
or they can withdraw in the case of an emergency. But that low income demographic that who are the primary consumers of J or customers of JTC, then it just wouldn't work for them.
okay,
Hmm,
okay.
okay.
Even relating to the data too, you had said something earlier about if you had gone to the actual stakeholders or the actual people who utilize the service and asked them, right? So you can ask them, but what they're telling you may not necessarily be the real reason. They're just telling to the first thing that come to mind. Like if it's a questionnaire, right? Half the time when I answer a questionnaire, it's just the first thing pop into mind. I'm not spending a lot of deep time thinking about the socioeconomic reasons of why I do this versus why I do that. So
Yeah.
sometimes that they're saying what they want to say, but it's not necessarily what's the real case. So how do you, as a data analyst, account for that?
Well, that's a good point. In research, we call that top of mind, right? And top of mind tends to be like it's accurate in most cases, because if I said, what's the number one bank in Jamaica, right? Whatever you think is the number one bank is the first thing that's going to come to mind, and
Mm-hmm.
that's built on, getting a bit technical here, but we do neuroscience, right, at Bluedot, which
Right.
is broken down into what's called system one and system two thinking. So, and it's based on the premise and the fact that over 90% of all the decisions that we make are made subconsciously. So, and those decisions are very quick, and it's based on context and emotions, whatever. So if I said 1 plus 1, immediately that's 2, right? But if I gave you two large numbers, um, you'd have to think about it and calculate it, and that is system two, which only 10% of the decisions that you make are made subconsciously. So the point of that is that when we buy products and we buy services, we make decisions actually. I think is 6 milliseconds before our logical brain identifies that a decision is made. So when you go into a supermarket and you buy a product, you already know that you're going to pick up that Colgate toothpaste because when you were 6 years old, you saw a Colgate ad, and that's just your thing, and that's what you know you're going to buy. So at Blue Dot, we measure what those um, subconscious decisions are by using neuroscience. So we measure brain activity, we measure pulse, something called GSR, which is galvanic skin response, which is essentially how quickly you sweat. We have EEG devices that measure brain activity and a whole
Oh,
bunch of that we use to to really dig deeper into human behavior, and that is why actually we've been so accurate with our polling because we
yes.
we use the neuroscience in polling, and if we have time, I can go into all of that. But yeah,
Yeah, man, because I remember you were one of the first people to put out what they thought the results of the election would be back in 2020. Yeah, 2020.
yeah. So all right, if I said to you, so we do this thing that's called implicit um, reaction timing, right? Where we measure your response to a stimuli or a priming word in microseconds or milliseconds. So a quick example is the example I always give is if I said to you, Justin, um, slap my right hand as quickly as you can and follow me. Slap my right hand as quickly as you can if I said um, Coca-Cola is a great drink. If you subconsciously associate Coca-Cola with being a good drink, then you're going to hit my right hand really quickly. But if you have to think about it, is Coca-Cola a good drink? There's going to be a delay in how quickly you hit my right hand, right? So what we measure and what that determines is subconscious association. So you subconsciously associate 876 Invest with being the greatest program on the internet, right? Then how you react to me telling you to hit my right hand when I said that, how
Yeah.
quickly you do is going to tell me that you actually think that top of mind, it's right there. But
Okay.
if you have to think, is 876 Invest really the best program on the internet? Then there's going to be a delay in how quickly you react, and that is what we do in polling. You have a question, I hope that was clear.
No, yeah, so I was just going to ask that the higher you think of the thing, the faster you respond, in a way.
Yeah,
The
because that would be innate feelings, right? That's like the moment you hear it, you didn't have to go
It's
through the whole
natural.
rhythm because it's
Yeah, it's like it click. 876 Invest, best program. But if
immediately.
you don't associate 876 Invest with being the best program, you're going to think about it. Well, is it really? Right? And then there's a delay in how quickly you react.
Right.
So in polling, so like example
Much
is
thoughts and
you know,
considerations. Yeah.
yeah, we off topic, but in the U.S. elections, majority of the pollsters got it wrong in predicting that Trump was going to win because they were asking explicit questions. So, who are you going to vote for? And people explicitly state who they're going to vote for, but they were afraid to say that who they're actually going to vote for because they didn't want to tell the interviewers that they're voting for Trump, right? So there's a difference between explicit and implicit. So what we measure in polling is implicit reactions because, like you said earlier, people will tell you what they want to hear, and also people are very aspirational. So they will, you know, if you ask me, for example, if I was health conscious, I'm going to tell you yes, but I eat fast food 2 times a week, right? Um, so we at Blue Dot, and of course we're the only company that does this in the Caribbean, as far as we know. We use the neuroscience technologies to dig deeper into actual human intent and consumer behavior and intention.
Okay. And that was always the goal from the start to say, you're not just doing regular data collection. You want to go deep into like the psyche
Yeah,
and
man. Yeah,
understanding.
man. Yeah, man. We have a psychologist on our team, right? Because
Nice.
we measure behavior, like behavioral psychology is a thing. There's a reason why you buy Grace Tropical Rhythms versus Lasco iCool or whatever the brand is, right? And understanding that why is what makes a difference, and turning that why into an insight that is then put into a marketing campaign is
Yeah.
where we come in.
Mm. Yeah, I
What do you think
understand.
of the phrase "the market is irrational"? Yeah, or things like that. Like, is that really the case? Is it that that our, or is it that people are making rational decisions to them, and there just happens to be a particular wave that follows from people following something like that, or give me a spin on it.
So there's a pretty popular quote that I like that says, "People don't buy products; people buy better versions of themselves." And why I like it is, like if you think about it, you're buying that bottle of Hennessy because it makes you feel better, right? You're buying this brand of toothpaste because it makes you feel better, and you think that is going to be a better version of you, and that is your why statement, right?
Okay.
So to answer your question, if I understand it correctly, you know, the market is rational to the extent that you understand what people want, and people buy what they want at um, based on their whys.
Okay. 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 I mean, I definitely see that in terms of
Like you
the direct.
like both of you like you're thinking like I either saying something that sounds stupid or
No, I get that
yeah,
in terms of the direct good and service side of things, right? So like I going to what I say now, going to FOF versus going to Marco Polo versus going to versus
yeah,
going to Greece or
because
Dubai
yeah,
from
it's
versus
because you feel that FOF going have a girl that will make you feel better. Like the girls at FOF are better, and that's a better version of you, you know.
And I
well,
mean,
well, timelines deceived, you might be right.
even simpler than that. I mean, you wouldn't spend money on something if you don't think it's like a benefit you. You know.
Exactly. So the quote is, people don't buy products, they buy better versions of themselves. So it's, how does that
That's
product
true.
or that service make you feel?
There's the
That's true.
the theory. I don't what you even know if I call it, but it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think it's about 5 or 6
yeah. Man.
levels that people tend to go to when they make their decisions in what they do. So you have to ensure that number one, that your basic needs are met. Number two, you have to worry about like your day to day life and things like that. Then you get to start more and more about okay, well, how can I achieve this? And then how you can start to self actualize. That's like the final. I think it's the final one. I need to go back over
Yeah,
it,
that's,
but
yeah. Self
it's
actualization is the final one.
Yeah,
yeah.
man. And a lot of marketers make the mistake of thinking that price is a determinant of purchase, right? Um,
Better.
Statistically, price is number 5 on the list of reasons why people buy products. You know,
Okay.
I mean, with COVID and in a pandemic, that might have changed a little, but fundamentally, um, people buy products based on how it make them feel. The why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and the emotional connection that you have to a brand.
Wait, hold on. You said price is number 5. How did this
Yeah.
go?
Price is
Yeah, I
number
mean,
5 on the list of reasons why people buy products.
Okay, like what's the top 5 then?
It's how everything else is emotional. It's how it make you feel.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Keenan, you want to
yeah.
ask anything there before I start to get to that bit more?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. My Wi-Fi just kicked out a bit.
No,
I
he
was saying
ain't
that Warren
googling
Buffett had a
if it's
speech where
number
he
if it's
spoke
number
about.
5 for real.
Well, one at a time. Wait, say Lauren.
Yeah, we'll go
No,
and
so
check.
he not googling if it's number 5 for real.
I mean, trust but verify,
Yeah,
Exactly.
Trust but verify.
yeah. No, but it's real. It's a real thing because it's something that we see all the time. I think Warren Buffett
Mhm.
had a speech one time where he was saying, he's bought hundreds of businesses, right? But he doesn't remember what he paid for most of them. He just remembered like the people he met and how he made them feel about doing business. And I
Yeah, yeah.
think it's kind of like that with a lot of things because I'm sure if you think about how much you buy 2 years ago. You don't remember,
Yeah,
but if you had a good experience, you'd remember it. So I think it comes back to that. But
it's the
I
why.
wanted to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, it's the why. It's the why.
Yes, why?
Yeah.
I wanted to jump into because I know you've done a little bit of work for some companies like in Trinidad.
Mhm.
Is what is the view or the vision for you in terms of expanding, and are you getting a lot of interest outside of Jamaica?
So we actually have two full-time employees in Trinidad now. We're going to be increasing that to around, hopefully around 8 by the end of the year, because Trinidad is a pretty big market for us, potential market for us, and we're going to be very aggressive in how we move, over there. We've identified a lot of gaps in terms of um, the services that we offer that aren't being offered there,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a lot of FMCGs, fast moving consumer goods, and consumer packaged goods, which is because they do a lot of manufacturing. So, example, Sunshine Snacks is Trinidadian, right? And they do a lot of that. So, and we do a lot of work in that sector because of the same neuroscience stuff. So, for example, um, same Sunshine Snacks example, when they changed the packaging of cheesies and they lost a lot of sales because people weren't identifying with the product anymore, right? What we do is we do eye tracking, so we actually have Salute technology that measures, that tracks where your eye moves on packaging. And long story short, we can tell um, which package is going to perform the best on a shelf, and people
Okay.
won't just walk past it, and that people are actually seeing your logo and your branding and the call to action and all of them something.
Oh, so that would be like a predictive model where you have say five different packages, and you have the existing package, and then you have like four extra ones.
Yeah, so it's not even predictive. It's just raw. Like, this is what people are seeing, and this is what they're not seeing.
Okay.
So we create a findability score. So they give us the current package, if it's an existing package, and then four different designs. And then from those five designs in total, we tell them which one has the highest findability on a shelf based on tracking eye movement and where people look, what they see first, you
Mhm.
know, etc. etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. So,
So what kind of made what kind of cemented your decision to go out into Trinidad as opposed to say a Bahamas, a St. Lucia or something like that? What was your why in choosing them?
The fact that they have a big banking and finance sector, and the same manufacturing sector is pretty big as well. It's bigger than our manufacturing sector here in Jamaica from a, a fast moving consumer goods standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair, fair, fair.
and
And,
what
and
what
I want a reason to be in Trinidad for Carnival. So.
so, okay, so other than Trinidad, like what other markets would you look at? Would you look at like say a Florida or
Yeah. What competition on the global scale look like? For you, is that daunting or what?
Interestingly, there are things that we do that even companies in North America are not doing, right? But I want to conquer the Caribbean first. I really want to. We do work overseas all the time. Anybody that follow me and or follow us on IG would know that we do work in Canada and the US pretty often. Um, but for the next year, we'll be focusing on expanding into the region, starting with Trinidad and Guyana.
Trinidad?
Yeah,
And
again, it's a big one. I've seen a whole lot
so
of the
Yeah, man, it's
companies
the wild, wild west right
plant
now.
early ground. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, and I mean with the oil expansion that has been going there and the expected rate that the economy will grow.
yeah,
And you have other companies moving down there like SVL, Dollar Financial, and so.
yeah,
So you
man,
think that it is expanding at a rate fast enough where they'll require that data need?
for sure, for
Okay.
sure.
Well, what about All right. So you say you do your own studies sometimes, right? What would you have done like I don't want to get too deep into the business, no man, and make other people hear about. What I have in mind is like if you have the data in terms of how much oil is supposedly in reserve, the rate of the rate of production right now based on all the players that are in there, do you have an idea on how long it will take for it to actually start um operating at what we project it to be, you know? Have an idea of something like that?
Like Bluedot or businesses?
Businesses in general, because then that would translate to you because you'd have more businesses there to service.
Oh, yeah, man, yeah, man. So we're trying to collect that data over there now. We have that data in Jamaica. Um, but definitely when we like we have to practice what we preach, right? So we're not going to go over there based on because I feel say oil over there and whatever. Like we're going over there based on data and insights,
Okay.
and we will tailor our approach for that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hey man. But all right, I would like you that knowing because now I want to move deeper into things, right? I'm sure a lot of our viewers are here waiting for how does this relate to me? How can I help make money from this, right? I want to tailor the approach right now. So I remember seeing you make a tweet a couple months ago about how you now have enough data on the Jamaica consumer base or habits to kind of predict how companies will perform financially, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I kind of just did a anecdotal test with my own money,
Mm-hmm.
and my own little trading account, and based on some data that we collected for ourselves in a particular industry, um, I put money behind one of the companies, listed companies, because I spotted a trend. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and it worked out. I made a little money off of that.
Nice.
So if we expand that, right, there is a lot that we could do with that. And
It
that was
sounds
just consumer behavior data. That wasn't taking macroeconomic data into it
yeah.
or any other, type of secondary data into it. That was just consumers said that, they had to do X and Y, and the company that provides Y is listed on the stock exchange, and I bought
Okay.
some stocks.
Okay, okay, but you could tie it in though, right? So for example, today, as of recording, the BOJ just raised interest rates to 5%, and then you could then now plug like inputs from that into your data and say, okay, if this is this, and we expect, I don't know, commercial banks to raise their rates like this, or even if you tend to inflation, they say, okay, we expect the companies to increase prices like so, then we
Mhm.
can expect this for how this company will perform, right? You could,
Right. And this is how consumers will respond to that
okay,
change. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Okay.
And then what is hold on, sorry, I just really want to get this down part, right? And
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
related
right.
to how the company has performed financially, like we're talking income statement, cash flow, all of that, or we're talking on the
This
market
is
itself.
this is
On the
consumers who purchase the products and
mm-hmm,
the services of this particular company.
mm-hmm,
They said that they were going to spend more,
mm-hmm.
and I took that
Okay,
and I made a prediction based on that.
okay,
So,
And that's just basic. That's like very very basic data. I never, we our data scientists is like playing around with and building models, based on consumer behavior and a whole bunch of other stuff. But
okay.
yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff, I'd say.
so do you think that like like for example a financial company or other type of company would be interested in that, or is it still a little bit too early for our market?
There should be, but when I was looking for investment, nobody nobody was
Somebody will
biting.
take it up.
And I was like, yo, like, you know, you guys
Nobody
are,
wants to join the party till it's halfway done.
yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, that this is that great reason why, like, I think that, to my earlier question when I asked, where I say, "Oh, if you could take some of these ideas and actually like use a subsidiary to enact them, I think that would be brilliant." But then again, the startup capital and all that is the next issue.
After we IPO and I get rich, that's what I'm going to do.
When say what you say? That is what we like to hear, man. Cause I love it, man. I love the scene that I seen on the JC right now, man. We saw most recent we have Gordon Sway be IPOing Eddie
Big up
Focal,
Gordon.
right? And
Yeah.
Larren
Yeah,
has just been fantastic. I make money, I'm sure he didn't make money off it. Um,
yeah.
but Dundas then, shout out to Dundas as well. But enough said, right? Um, we love the space that I'm seeing right now. More and more people are approaching this, right? They're more and more people are starting to understand the usage of the capital markets because it's here for you. They're here for you as the company to make use of to then provide returns back to us, right? And I know that's been on your mind for quite some time. I've been seeing the signs about the place. I've been seeing. I'm sure you spoke about it in an interview not too long
Mm,
ago. I know
mhm.
it's definitely in your intention, right? But can you tell us a little bit more about that? Any plans, any timelines? Hopefully, yes, no. Yeah, we're looking
Yeah.
at.
So like, is every entrepreneur's dream to have some type of exit, right? So you start a company, you grow it. The next step then is to get some investors to back you, to put money in, and then after that is either you get some type of exit by getting bought out,
Yeah,
or listing on the stock exchange and then growing even more, right?
Mhm.
So um, I see so much opportunity in the region, you know, especially because companies are now understanding data and understanding the need to be more data driven. That we are growing pretty quickly. Like I'm acquiring more office space now because we need to double and triple our staff, just to meet the demand that we have. And so yeah, we will be IPOing. It is baked into our agreement that we will IPO.
okay,
As to when, I'm going to get some solid financials in um, in another couple months, and then my personal target is around April, May next year.
nice.
But again, I mean, I have a board now. I can't make these decisions by myself.
That's
Grace Kennedy, very very great partner, and it's up to us and them to determine when that will happen. It might be 2 years from now. They might decide that you know 2 years when you get to $1 billion in revenue is when you should IPO. Maybe that's what we will do. I don't know, but I'm anxious, is what I would say.
okay.
So
Yeah,
how did that deal, or how did that those conversations with
it's a
Christian
big
come
picture with him
about?
and Dan Webby.
Mhm. So, um, deals take time, right? That deal with Grace Kennedy took 2 years. It was 2 years in the making of back and forth in valuation, not doing the deal, doing the deal, and yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, like to be backed by a company as big as Grace Kennedy is an amazing feeling, and especially given the year that I had, it's the first time I'm going to publicly say this, but last year, so we know that we had some investors before, and I bought back the shares, and there was a delay in me buying, but it was all over the media, so I can talk about it. There was a delay in me buying back the shares because of COVID, right? Of course, and the investors decided that they were going to start selling off the shares to other people because they needed the cash. And I last year was very stressful for me. It was like very, very stressful. And I actually quit and resigned from Bluedot twice last year. And I got an offer from a very, very large company to become CEO of that company, a very large publicly listed company too. And I took the offer to become CEO, and and I was leaving Bluedot because the relationship was just, it just wasn't, it was untenable, right? Um, but I changed my mind at the last minute, and I apologized to the company that I'd signed the agreement with to become CEO. And I guess through entrepreneurial spirit, kind of held out and persevered and got a really good deal from Grace Kennedy, and I'm just very, happy for it.
Mhm.
True, man. True. Not before it's
And
time for sure, man.
for the viewers who don't know, the company he's speaking about would have been SSLVC,
Well, I didn't
Who
say
own the shares? No.
who
Yeah.
at the time
At
only
the time.
bought
Right.
into Bluedot, and then at a later date were trying to sell out, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what.
And let me clean that up, right? Big up to SSL. They were the first company to believe in us, right? SSL Venture Capital Limited. Um, so big up to them. They were just under pressure from their shareholders to
Mm.
liquidate their shares um, quickly, and I couldn't come up with the money in time, right? So they were forced to honor their shareholders and sell the shares. I just didn't like that, and that's what caused the issue with myself and them.
Understand, man. Because, at the end of the day, business is business. So
Yeah,
people need to try and do what's in their best interest, even
yeah,
though another
yeah.
party might be
And they're
facing.
a publicly listed company, right? So I mean, they have to answer to their shareholders. So big up to
Well,
Zachary Hardin and the team at SSLVC.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of even that, I'm sure you're aware that they've recently just received confirmation of the takeover bid for about 79% at about how much was it again? Nine
Yeah, I
something.
think about 93 cents or something like that.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
per share.
So I was trying to like make a cool story out of that. I offered to buy SSLVC.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's what we were curious about, you know.
yeah, man, I
Yeah.
did put in an offer, but um, I was trying to raise the funds. I was trying to do a real Bobby Axelrod move, but it never worked out.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
would have been a cool story though. Like,
For sure, man. For sure.
yeah, man.
That's the thing they put on the when you open the Forbes and the first page right there, you have the picture
Yeah,
and then the little blur there, so.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We had some initial discussions about it. They said at the time, no, and I was still trying to do it, but it never worked out. It would have been a cool story though if Blue Dot
Yeah.
had bought SSLVC.
Yeah. And if you did that, you would have listed the company right then and there.
Yeah, it would have been already been listed.
Hmm.
The good thing about it is that they had a lot of debt. So even though that 5-year tax break on the JC would have expired, we could have used the debt to like write off taxes
But yeah.
For a
for
long
Blue Dot.
time, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the what we're again deferred. It's usage of the of the losses and the debt that I had to further
Mm-hmm.
finance your company. Well, not finance, but benefiting in cutting down the taxes that you pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Or something like that. I was being advised by somebody who know what I'm doing. So something to that
Yeah,
effect. Yeah.
yeah. Can I double check on that? But yeah, man,
Yeah.
for sure. That would have been great still, man. Can
Yeah,
I
I've,
only
I've got
imagine?
so many things on this show tonight. I say a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, for real, man, for real. We want really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, but
Viewers in there with pen and paper now. So,
Yeah.
for sure, man.
um,
Um,
so yeah, go ahead, Justin.
yeah, I was just thinking, man, because I one of the best features to me of listing a company is the ability to further raise capital even after IPO. And if anybody who is into finances on Twitter, I'm sure you hear about the hot debate between rights issues versus APOs and get an idea of how it performs, because with the exception of about one, um typically every company that has done an APO is a bit below the price, right? Or at least as the price has sunk for a considerable time. And it's a case of shareholders saying, "Oh well, you just opened out you just put out the offer to a lot more shareholders. It's diluting my share." And I mean, sure, you're doing it in the purpose of raising more capital to do better for your business, but yeah, it a cut down my earnings per share. So let me sell out from early, and it's resulted in a dip in the price. But
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know,
I'm always of two minds about it, right? Because I believe in entrepreneurs, right? So, um, and like what I call true entrepreneurs. So even though the APOs, might not be, whatever you got it, that might not be performing now. If the head of that company or of the management team of that company, um, they are true entrepreneurs or true, like real managers of money, then you're going to see some appreciation eventually. In my opinion, like, well, I can't talk about Tyrone now because Tyrone was getting bashed a lot, right? And I think not justifiably so. He's my brethren, so that's I'm biased, right? But the man is a true entrepreneur, and he like the man, he is going to turn around the company. He has turned the company around, and
Yes,
there's I can say that there's a lot of very interesting things that are going to come out of iCreate very soon. So yeah, just believe in like true entrepreneurs because the grit when carry us through.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
I mean, so I want to talk about something a little bit. So we've seen it with iCreate a little bit when it just came out, and we saw it with Edifoca where especially if the company doesn't have a lot of tangible assets, people tend to be very iffy about it. So
Hmm.
do you think like is Blue Dot or is the investing public ready for a company like Blue Dot to list?
So what I always find funny with questions like that, or just that whole thinking, is that the largest companies in the world right now have intangible assets. Facebook, Uber, all the tech companies. They're like tech companies. The top 50 companies in the world are dominated by companies with intangible assets and tech companies, right? It's just that in Jamaica, we don't know how to value those tech companies, right? Um, and we don't know how to value IP and value intangible assets. And I hope that we get there very soon. I would have said on Twitter the other day that, big up to Kevin Donaldson from Roots.
For
He
sure.
gave he gave Monique Powell from QuickCart the fairest valuation I've ever seen any tech-based company get in Jamaica. Um, so I think that's a good first step for us, But one of the things that I always say is, I say it to Gordon and Tyrone and all of our entrepreneur friends, because we're all like friends, right? One of us just need to bust and bust big, because the challenge now is that if I take a proposal for $50 million to an investor to invest in a tech-based company, and I take this another proposal for $50 million to put in real estate, they're going to put it in real estate, right? And yeah, real estate is great. I want to build some complexes myself, right? But give the youth them a bus, like if it's a good, solid tech-based product, trust us and put the money behind it.
For sure, for sure.
And,
You-
and it's funny. What I find funny is that a lot of Jamaicans would, if you're going to say, "Oh, would you buy Apple or Facebook, Uber?" They'd say yes, hands down.
Yeah.
But if you take it locally, it's a totally different argument. And then
Mhm.
again, I think it comes kind of back to culture where we see all of these things overseas, but really we aren't willing to implement them locally.
I think it's a
In
little bit
our
of
way of
fear.
thinking of life.
And it's
Um,
sad.
yeah.
It's sad,
Yeah, I understand the fear, but how are you as a society going to advance? You get me?
Nobody wants. Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. Right? Nobody wants to take that first
Yeah.
step
So,
out and say, okay, cool. Let me. Well, it's happening now around us, right? But it's still not ubiquitous, right? You don't have a lot of people taking on those kind of risks, right?
yeah, but I think that we're seeing the changes slowly, and as I said, the deal with Kevin Dance and Monique I think, was a big step, and then Gordon now,
Mhm.
listing Eddie Focal, that's another big step. So I think it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It is. It is. I'm hopeful.
Mhm.
Yeah,
For sure,
definitely
for sure.
understand.
I really like it, man, because as I was saying, I'm seeing a lot more CEOs within this age group, or founders with this age group, like taking these companies out to bigger and bigger leagues. We're not just talking the small companies anymore that's doing like maybe $110 million, right? We're talking like actual bigger companies doing more sizable valuations as the day goes by.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, sorry for even I'll bring it back to this, man, but with SSLVs, I remember they said they bought it for about 53 million at the time, and then by the time they sold it, it wasn't as much, right? They had taken a bit of a hit on it, but had it been, say, now in 2022, after all the things that have gone up, right, you would say that the valuation would be much greater. But would a company, um, well, clearly Grace has, but you think other companies are ready to take a leap like that? You know?
So, well, to go back to that valuation, right? I negotiated a 50% haircut for to buy back the shares from SSL.
Okay.
And it kind of like I wish I said to a reporter no, no, I said to a reporter one time from a newspaper, um, like Blue Dot isn't listed. Why is it that everything that we do comes out in the paper? You know,
Mm.
yeah, I kind of just want to do my thing quietly, right? But
Yeah.
you know, but the point is, why I brought that up is, some a lot of times I don't report everything. So when it said that SSL bought 50% of the company for 53 million, that would have just given us $100 and something million valuation. But the real truth is that I negotiated a haircut on that deal, a 50% haircut, so our valuation was a lot higher um,
Hmm.
than what was reported. And the same thing with everything that came out last year with the being me buying back the shares and stuff. Our revenues are a lot more than what was reported. So definitely our valuation, even if you're using a 10x multiple, which is standard, is a lot more than what was reported.
For sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. All right. Okay, okay. Hmm. I think there was something else I wanted to ask you about.
So
I mean,
let me say, like, for example, for those younger entrepreneurs out there, even older entrepreneurs, from your experiences, from your startup story, um, the process, and even to this point, what advice would you give them?
Stay in your 9 to 5. For real.
boy, nah, man, we need the Mavericks, man. We need the non-conformists. We need the people who are willing to take the plunge. So
It's
them can listen, me can get rich off of them.
it's it's very hard, guys. It is extremely hard, but also very rewarding.
Figure as much,
Just
man.
you just have to know. You really have to know what you're getting into. Um, I say it all the time. Like I think we as entrepreneurs are at fault for glamorizing the entrepreneurship a lot. Like you literally see, if you follow me on IG, you see me flying all over the place and going to conferences and blah, 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 and all of them something. But like, it's hard. I can't even like properly explain it. Like I'm probably going to tear up talking about it. No, it's just very, very hard. Like it's just hard work, a lot of work. If I knew before I quit my 9 to 5 that this is what it was going to take, I would not have quit, and that is the truth, right? Just to put myself through everything that I have gone through and entrepreneurs go through, I probably wouldn't have did quit. Like if somebody did sit me down and said, "Boy, you have to go through them something, anxiety, you have to go like therapy and depression and all of them something there," I wouldn't have done it. But it is very rewarding, and I have zero regrets. And um, I'm in control of my destiny. Like if I fail, it's on me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely understand that.
Speaking of even the information, like how do you as an individual manage to even go sleep at night and have to process all of this information, all the things that you would have known from this kind of perspective and vantage point, man?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, if you were to be able to see my eyes, you'd see that there are bags under them. Um, because again, with entrepreneurship versus a 9 to 5, most people when they leave them 9 to 5 at 5 o'clock, them don't think about them work till the next day. Blue Dot is consistently on my mind every single. I'm out at a party, should be dancing with some girl, may I think about Blue Dot. I'm thinking about my staff, I'm thinking about payroll, thinking about cash flow, thinking about the receivables that we have, thinking about how we're going to grow the business, everything constantly just thinking about it. And again, to your question, the information that we get, how can I use this to add more value to my clients? You know, are they getting the right insights? Because the projects that we work on are multi-million dollar projects that clients spend millions of dollars on. You know, like a very recent example is that very popular there's a very popular lottery game that we worked on at Inception that we the insights that we provided is why it's doing so well. And I mean that's a proud moment for us. But the point is that we're behind a lot of very important million-dollar decisions, multi-million dollar decisions. And I have to think about that. Did the data that I provide to this client, are they going to lose or gain off of this? You know, 'cause what we do is very, very important.
Sure, man. Like I can only imagine because you have to them say, okay, we've done research, we've done the work, and here's what we think. And if them act on that and it doesn't work out, then
We're screwed.
you
They'll
know.
never use us again.
But I mean, hey, you're still here today, so I suppose you must be doing something right, eh?
Big up to my team. Can't do it without them. Big up to
For
my
sure,
team.
for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
man. Yeah,
I'm
man.
just worried about all of that, man, because some them say no one man should have so much power. They've ever seen videos of Mark Zuckerberg before and after Facebook really blew up.
I hope one day people will say that about me. I hope that one day people will say Larren is puppeteering things in the Caribbean because he has so much data moving
Yeah.
around and influencing decision. I hope that one day those people will say that about me because it means that we're big.
Yo, from your picture start get sent around in the WhatsApp anti group chat them in the man, say reaching.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's really good stuff. Um, I think one of the last things I want to ask is like any notable stories about real actionable change. Like so you don't have to call the names, but like you went to company A, you did the data and it was and you passed it on, they actioned it and it was real noticeable change, not necessarily just for the company because we wouldn't understand the financials or not change, but like change in the wider in the real world, the wider world.
Whole heap of stories, like we we have a lot of repeat clients, right? And right now I'd say we have a lot of big corporate Jamaica as our clients.
Hmm.
Um, and daily when I'm driving in my car and I hear ads come on the radio for products and services, in every break I can identify some client that we've done work for or some product that's being launched or some service or something that we would have done work for. And when I go to the supermarket and I walk down every single aisle, there's products that we would have done research for, either taste
Yeah.
testing or package testing or concept testing or whatever for, right? Literally, it's a thing that I do when I go to the supermarket. Every aisle there's products there that would have worked on. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that, and like I said before, our clients really rely on us to help them to make those decisions. Can't really pinpoint anyone. No, there's many, and I wouldn't want to divulge, you know,
Fair.
specifics. But yeah, man,
Yeah. Man,
we're
that's
we're
so.
we're, we're honestly good at what we do, and our clients appreciate that from us.
Oh, trust me, I see, man. I can't count a week right now get an email from one.
Yeah. Oh, with on communal. Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You say you have a lot of recurring clients. Would you say there's any one single client that accounts for like more than 10% of revenue, something like that?
Um. So we have two clients like that. Grace
Okay.
is one of them for sure. But it wasn't just a financial decision for them. There's strategy behind it because we do a lot of work for Grace Kennedy as well. And we will support GK in becoming a more data driven organization, right? And you can imagine how Grace Kennedy being the company that it is. Um, how important data is in making the decisions. that they have to make. You know, they have a huge um, task of or mandate of being an even more global company, and data has to sit at the core of that, and that is where we will come in for them. You know, Mr. Webb is a definitely a visionary, and he understood um, you know, that how important it was, and that is one of the reasons why we were able to do the deal. So yeah,
Love that. You look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, so for Grace Kennedy, did they come into like how have they been a client for a long time, and then as I said, the
Oh
whole
yeah.
deal took at least 2 years before it came to this point. So this would have been something that they would have been thinking about for a long while. So like from here, where do you see like this journey with them going from this point forward?
definitely fully long term. It's a definite long term partnership with Blue Dot and Grace Kennedy. Yeah, I'm daunted and excited at the same time, right? Because where they want to take us is it blows my mind, like the vision that they have for us, right? And just the synergies in what we do, and you know, they're a global company. They have presence all over the world. A lot of people don't know how far reaching they are. Um, and you know, we're going to grow with them, and it's very exciting. I am daunted because of the amount of work that I now have to put in. You know, like all the work that it took for me to get to this point where a company like Grace Kennedy would invest in us. All of that work pales in comparison to what is now going to take to move forward and go further. And that's what really keeps me up at night. You know, like how do I grow, and how do I scale, and how do I make my these new investors in Blue Dot proud and happy that they invested in us.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You know, we did an interview recently with Kyrie Robinson, and he was letting us know, and I'm sure that's something that you probably
Hmm.
share a sentiment you share too. He said the work it takes to take a business from 0 to 1 is almost the same work it takes to take the business from 1 to 100. You know, so we you would have kind of gone through the 0 to 1 phase
Yeah,
where you
man.
got it from just an idea
Yeah,
to getting some out there, and then now to take it to 100, it's like a whole another phase of planning and how you're going to go
it's
about it again.
Work is
it's
never done.
yeah, it's mind blowing, bro. Like like the amount of so I've never done manual labor like lifting up, mixing cement and them something there,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
I hope I don't get flack for this. But I think that brain work and like constantly like strategizing and thinking about like chess moves and looking at the forest and not the trees is equally as hard as manual labor. I hope I don't get flack for that, but like, yeah, it's tiring. I'm tired because there's just so
Yeah.
much strategy and those things going on in my head right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're probably right. I'd probably have to get some data to back that up.
Yeah,
But yeah, because I think your brain alone use about 20% of your body oxygen. You know,
yeah.
so
I,
it,
I,
it,
Yeah.
it does it is
I
a
don't
tool.
sleep at night. I don't sleep at night at all. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
mm.
it is a
It's
tool.
crazy, man. But yeah. I think we covered a lot of this still. I, I think we want to get. I think I want to just get an idea on more how can a regular person, start to make better use of the internet now in making more data driven decisions, right? Because a lot of the times, especially in the way how we're growing up, especially through the school system, when you want to find out about something, right? If it's not on the first page of Google or Jano, and even further from that, in our methodologies and how we go about things a lot, the most difficult thing is a questionnaire. But how can the average person now
Yeah.
better make use of the data and the resources around them? So
So good question.
yeah,
So one, social media is the largest focus group, right? So if you have a business online, and you have an Instagram page, you can listen to what your customers are saying because they're going to tell you on your page, right? They're going to comment under your page, and you listen to what they're saying, and you look at that data and then you act on it. That's insight. That's insights. That's the best data you can collect when it's unsolicited, right? So social media is your largest focus group. Put in systems or solutions where that fosters them engaging with you and voluntarily giving you information about what they feel about your product and your services and whatever. So that's in the, that's in the online world. There's free survey tools out there. Google has Google Forms. Create a form, create some questions, and send it out. On Twitter or whatever. And when you're formulating your questions, take a step back and think about, all right, what decisions do I need to make that I don't have the data to answer to provide? And that's your objective. So your objective is, what your objectives are and what decisions keep you up at night, and then you work the questions around that. And don't just send it to your WhatsApp group with your friends. Try and get as a broad cross section of opinions
Right.
as possible so that it's not skewed, right? Um, in the offline world, if you have a store, um, there's a whole field called behavioral consumer behavior or ethnographic studies where you literally observe what people do. So somebody walks into your store, do they go right or do they go left, and do they stop at a particular aisle, and what do they look at, what they take up, what they don't take up. That's part called path to purchase, and just observing for yourself um, what customers do in your store can give you so much useful information. And then, addition to that, both if you have an offline business and an online business, or a real world business and an online business, try to collect as much customer information as possible that will help you to market. So, you are most of your customers female between the ages of 25 to 35. What do they Where do they live? If you have a retail store, are they coming from out of town? So you collect as much information on them as possible. And then, most importantly, sorry for being long-winded, but understand who your customers are versus your consumers. And a lot of people don't think about this, but customers and consumers are two different things. If your girlfriend Justin buys you a six-pack of beer, of Dragon or Guinness or Red Stripe or whatever,
Dragon.
Dragon, perfect, big up. She is the customer, but you're the consumer. And what motivates a customer versus a consumer is completely different, right? So so you have to know how to market to the customer and to the consumer. A lot of Bridget's customers are men, but the consumers are
Consumers.
women. So an ad for a Bridget's customer, the man, the perfect ad would be, you know, make your girl feel good, buy Bridget's. Versus the ad to the consumer, which is the actual girl, these are comfortable slippers. So you have to, like really profile your customers, and in a lot of cases, your customers are different from your consumers.
Okay. 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 Um. So, all right. So next thing now, say you've been doing this for years now, and you've been definitely gathering a lot of data. I think by now it's supposed to have Jamaica down pat. What would you say is some of the next booming industries, sectors, business practices, some things that people can look forward to as that you think will be very successful coming up? Give me an idea on that.
Automation,
Automation.
automation. So talent, there's a huge shortage of talent. And I was talking to, Yakini.
Of course I know Keen. Yeah
Yeah,
man,
man.
in Cambridge man. Yeah,
Yeah,
Keen
man.
one and Brian from Pre-Labs.
Yeah, man. One of the brightest you'll ever meet, right? Big
Mm,
up Yakini.
big up.
I was talking to Yakini about this the other day. There's such a shortage of talent and good, in the world, there's, I don't know if you're familiar with what they call the Great Resignation, where
Yeah.
which is talking about the shortage of labor in the world, right? Um, all my entrepreneurs know, all my friends who are entrepreneurs and those business people can't find good people to work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a huge labor shortage. The prime minister came out the other day and said we might have to start importing
Important
people,
something.
and he got a lot of flack for it. But it's like there was nothing wrong with what he said.
Yeah, yeah, it's the truth. Yeah, it's the
I
truth.
It's
agree.
the truth. So for me, automating processes and tasks is the next big thing. Whether using AI or robots or whatever is the next big frontier that a lot of businesses are going to come from.
I
And
know we've go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Justin.
And I know we've kind of started the process in certain things, but we kind of slow to a lot of things, right? Because one of the first things that I would automate is the tax office, right? Half the services done there don't need to be done there, but the tax office will every day.
Yeah, yeah. Digitization didn't happen in COVID as it should have.
No.
I tweeted this, and like the one time I almost get canceled on Twitter, it was because I said that on Twitter, because I did call out the developers and say, "Yo, COVID happened and you guys never created any technology
Mm.
for us," you know, and they canceled me on Twitter for that. But anyways, yeah, digitization never happened in the way that it should have.
Yeah, and I was speaking to yes, probably should know him, Rashard Billings.
Yeah, man, big up
Um,
Russia.
yeah, man, CEO of Gift Me, and he was saying the same thing. He's saying that there's a lot of $1 million ideas just sitting in spreadsheets. You get me?
Yeah, man.
Like just processes there that
Notes,
people
notes
do.
app, Google
Yeah,
Drive.
people do manually over and over every day that you can automate,
Yeah,
and
man.
make a business out of it.
Yeah, man.
And
For
yeah,
sure.
we see it all the time.
For sure.
So access to funding is so important.
But the money I invest in a real estate, them not getting young youth the money. No?
Want the apartment I go.
Exactly. And they all building luxury apartments like there's no middle class. I don't understand it.
I
Yeah,
mean, time will tell on that. I don't like to say it, but time will tell. Personally, I don't believe there is a bubble, as people commonly refer to it as, oh, when the bubble bursts. And I don't think it's going to happen. To me, Jamaica was just undervalued for a lot of years for several reasons.
Oh
That's
yeah?
that's my take on it.
we've and to be honest too, we've been underhoused for a long time as well.
Quite,
You
you
know
know.
that we
Yeah,
do need a lot more properties and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
guys.
That's all.
But I mean, I like a bare 750,000 US, $1 million US, $2 million US apartment complex. Like, what about the middle class who can only afford maybe a $50 million apartment as max, or $30 million apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a very serious situation, man. I feel we're going to end up in is a bit of a off relation, but like the situation in China, right? They had a lot of they had overpopulation, and so the basically mandate is, oh, you can only have up to one child, right? So it and then the result of that now in all these years later is that they have so many men around the place and not enough women for them all to marry, and it's become this whole fiasco. And it's a similar situation in Jamaica. And just because you can sell something for this doesn't mean it's always going to reap the best results, right? And I think that's up for our regulators to really look into and kind of figure out what exactly is going on with that. But because they can be sold for that amount, right? We have we have a whole heap of people in diaspora earning a lot more than what the locals are earning. We have a whole heap of people that want to be within the largest English-speaking country in
Yeah,
in this in this here, right? So if they will get sold,
yeah,
but
man.
what cost to us?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
So it's my little small rant right there. Yeah, man, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think that's all the pertinent questions I had right now. Henel, anything you wanted to cover last?
yeah. Just one final thing from me. How you think like your background in IT and with AIS like helped you in your journey now? And also, do you
Mm-hmm.
think that like if you're deciding to go on a venture, do you think it's something that you have to have a lot of experience with, or not necessarily?
So I can answer those two questions with just my story. I don't have a degree. I never went to school to learn anything in statistics or data or um, political science or anything of the sort, right? Um, I just read a lot and hire the right people, and just be very practical about and know what my limitations are, right? But me not dunce, I'm not dunce either, you know. Um, so AIS, what I learned at AIS was entrepreneurship from my former boss, Doug Halsall. He's on Twitter too. Every now and then him drop some real gems on Twitter. I don't know if you follow him, but you should.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
do.
yeah, man. What I learned there was being visionary and being entrepreneurship. That's what I learned there. That was my university. I always say it. So big up to those to AIS and Mr. H. Um, honestly, like for me, the requirement for entrepreneurship is and starting a business is grit. If you have the grit and you have some little sense and some strategy behind you, like you will get there. I spent a lot of time because I'm a country youth, not from uptown, never go campion or JC. I spent a lot of time. You laugh. I spent a lot of time building, like, focus on building our the Bluedot brand. you know when I was about to do this interview, I was like, yo, this is the first time that anybody probably going to see me outside of a Blue Dot shirt, but with the logo behind me. And my glasses say Blue Dot because
Nice.
I'm very, I've always been
Very
very
intentional.
intentional about building the brand, so that I don't have to introduce myself when I go into a room. Like people say, yo, that's the Blue Dot guy, that's Manish Water, that's, you know. And yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah,
I,
man, honestly, you
for
answered it.
me, I mean, of course, it helps, and there have been downsides to me not being a researcher, because it means I'm depending on my team to do the right work and to the proper work, right? But they also, them can't trick me, them can't fool me, because I've spent so much time now in the industry that there's almost nothing that I can't do.
Mhm.
Um, I can run data if I need to run data.
Yeah.
So say for example, a young you watching this, high school or leaving high school soon, um, wants to get into something similar like this, because there's definitely is money into it, into data analytics. There's definitely into on the software side of things.
Yeah.
What would you say he should position himself towards? Is it more like on the coding side? Is it more understanding the data and the or even just relaying it into easily digestible content for people? Like what's the niche right there? What's the best niche for that?
Yeah, so there's several areas in this whole data space that you can get to. They can just be like business intelligence and visualizing the data, which is very important. But you have to be able to see data and understand data, and it sounds kind of fluzy, but to be able to tell a story from data is important, or to be able to pull the insights out of it. Quick example is Wisynco sells a lot of cream soda in St. Thomas. So somebody just looking at a spreadsheet with sales data would either overlook that or not even have the inclination to dig deeper, right? But it's because cream soda is used in Obia, and that's where Obia is, in St. Thomas, right? Um, so that's actually very true. Actually, that's like actual insight. But the point is, that probably wasn't the best example, but the point is you have to be able to see the data and understand it,
Yeah.
like getting the insights from the data and turning that insight into knowledge. So, like, the knowledge now for our single sales rep is um, sell more,
Yeah, said
distribute
more
more.
cases of a cream soda than St. Thomas, yeah?
Yeah, right. Um, but data, literally, sound cliche, but data is a new oil. Every single company Once them have a computer and they're selling something, there's data there that can be mined. And once you mine that data, you get the insights from it, and that's a service that you can provide. So please start compete, like come up and compete with Blue Dot. Let me start fret, like let me keep me on my toes, just yeah, get into the space or come work for us.
You should. That's right. That's right. Because we have to build up the
Yeah,
human
man.
capital for sure. For then now
Yeah,
expand it.
the pie big enough, in my opinion.
For sure. For sure. For sure. All right, man. That's great. All right. Anything closing? No.
No, that's it for me.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much for doing this with us, Larren. I think it's been a really great interview. It's very, it's intensive. It went over a lot of points. Especially from a wide breadth of the understanding that you would have from your perspective, right? I'm sure our viewers will be able to take a lot of advantage of the things that we got here at the insight we're coming from, and to better formulate the thoughts into when they're looking into data for themselves. Because this is that data is the new oil. You need to be able to take charge of what you see, go deeper than just the numbers. Because the numbers only tell half the story,
Yeah,
right?
man.
So once again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been Justin, Scott, and Henel Vidal from 876 Invest, Larren Peart from Bluedot.
Thank you.
Just keep watching, subscribe, like, comment, share, and if any companies out there listening to this, Bluedot is here for all the data needs.